Le titre c'est People are not strange codes. People, people, the world. There is one thing I know, the world is not a wheel, it's your will. People, people are not what you think. People, people in the night, ich weiß, are not what you think. The world is not a panorama. There is one thing I know, the world is not a wheel. The world is not your will. There is one thing I know, myself, as much as I know the world. I know myself as much as I know the world. I know myself as much as I know the world. I know myself as much as I know the world. The world. People. There is one thing I know. People, the world. People I know are not what you think. People are not strange. People are not coats. People are not hairs. People are not scars. People are not towers or strange panorama. People are not pillows, carpet you use when you get tired of your day because you work for a living and not for yourself, and you can't make a difference between yourself and your seat. You can't make a difference between a black coat and the back of a busy man. Mankind seated in the production process. But people are not chairs. People are not Fred Astaire's. People are not shoes. They don't choose their names. In the beginning was a name, and this name was bitter. Bitter like itself and its own bitterness. Bitter was a kind of dried powder or dried yellow mud driven by the desire for liquid bitterness. Bitter had nothing to hide, no bones, no eyes, no sex to design its own nakedness, because bitter was a kind of free will. The night was open like an orifice, full of messy promises, and stars took place as vows of milky intention and threw up ideas of love, ends, art of murder, little death, creation, creator, action, reaction, rhythm, dependence, doses, and excess. Then a spurt of liquid chicory fell from the throat of a star, and bitter became wet, deeply wet, and turned into a flower. A beautiful red poppy, and the only red poppy ever to be found on the earth, and it was so beautiful because it was red. In the surrounding of this puppy was living bunch of hippies, escapees far from the city and the neighbor conquest. And one day one of those hippie guys found the flower and brought it to the group. And the group was so happy to see this beautiful flower that they want to eat it, so they share it equally and they enjoy this meal. 2 hours later, those guys begin to have really wet eyes and start to look each other very deeply, very, very intensively. It was stronger than them, obsessed by their bodies. They have to do something with it. And as simple as it seems, they found what, and they did it. And they did it again and again, all together, all separately and all together at the same time. And they call it freed bitterness. Beginnings have always something to do with the taste of bitter in my mind. It was one of the first words I was fascinated by when I discovered it. I was spending all my days repeating it, bitter, 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 bitter. It was for me a perfect sound and shape to explain to myself my own nature, bitter. I can't forget how Mum was having pleasure telling me the history of the beginning, and especially the making of Eve, with the bone of Adam, a bowl of mud and saliva, and I have always imagined that this saliva was a kind of aged milk, like the one she used to call little milk, and that she bought in an Algerian little market. Mum wasn't a hippie, but she taught me how to share. Give here or give there, this gift will shine on your face, my child. She has never read this essay called The Gift, the one that I read at the same time of my puppy love, but anyway, I think she will not really like it, because she doesn't like essay. I'm not sure about what this essay say, but less or more what she don't want to hear about the gift, because I define her like that, the woman who love and want to give to me, for sure, but not only, for the planet in general, because she is ambitious in her way of giving. I guess that this ambition to give has split and flowered somewhere in my brain's connection, because I find myself today having matters with ideas of giving and with ideas of people. People. Some people don't like we call them people because they got names now. Even if you don't know who they are, they write you emails and they tell you their names like, "Hello, I'm Alfred. I'm here to help you choosing the best product regarding your needs." I don't know what happened with names today. I feel there is something happening with names, but also with faces. Faces want names or names want faces. I don't know, I smell that something smells bad or bitter with name. It's not the same as before, I'm sure. I can feel it. I can feel it in my way to look at faces of people in the street, but also when I close my eyes in my way to create unknown faces of people in my mind. Someone said that words are people. And I was so happy to hear this sentence because it tells exactly what I wanted to say. People are words. I know it's not exactly the same. People are words and words are people, but it's similar, isn't it? When I say people are words, what I wanted to say, in fact, is that people are not pictures but words, and it has something to do with the fact that when I close my eyes, I see faces of unknown, because they are not exactly people, in fact. They are they are ideas, they are cup of tea sometimes or coffee sometimes, but they are not what we call today, or I will say since I'm born, people. People want faces today and names, and it's not so new, but it's not so old also. I saw that something had changed with name, with people, and picture. It's not the same as before, I feel it, but I will come back to that later. Last night from my kitchen, I saw a weird dark shadow on my sofa. I thought it was the shadow of a cat standing in front of a lamp behind the window of my neighbor, which facing mine. But it wasn't a cat shadow, it was a deep blue coat forgotten by someone. It was in fact your coat, and there was no name on it. And I remember that I didn't know you when I met you. I look at you and I fuck you, and all in one we stand this night. And I forgot my name, yourself, your soul. I got rid of my clothes, of my skin to give it to you, and back. You give it to the night, and the night give it back to me, and we give both our loss to the stars, and the stars defecated scarf of milk toward us. Laid, I forgot my sex on your mouth, talking. We were making the history before identity estrangement. A heap makes one shadow on the floor, and this heap could probably be used as an illustration of Lovecraft's monster. To simplify, we call us a beast, the beast with two backs, pedaling in the air, and it was our way to express we share something called space. I can't remember now from why I thought that making love is against war, and I matched this out with a cool vision of the jungle cruelty and the cool body of Kim Wilde. But I often think that since the time I heard this voice telling me, make love, not war, I had made love with many people, and I have moved from cities to cities, and I saw some houses and jails have been built, and some roads grew up, and borders appears like a beautiful way to end patterns of fields. We better look at things from the top, don't you think? Even though I've never understood how people can create maps and border, I was so bad in geography at school because I missed the point with border. I was so asking myself which kind of borders or same guys who makes map, which kind of other borders they create in their life, in their home, in their bed and in their plate. But I'm okay to say that I better look at things from the top for sure. I better embrace things from the top, and I know also, I'm over feeling that there are more space, less empty. Neighbors are not necessarily my friends. I can be my own enemy. I can make love against war. I can sleep with the enemy. I can scalp the back of my enemy and sleep on it. Another sentence I heard recently said, to be coherent is to form enemies. And I was so glad to hear this sentence because I can understand it. I can understand how Heidi growing until that, even if I don't think to have proper enemies, but I'm conscious that sometimes I have someone I stand with people that can be my opposite in terms of opinion about music, clothes, but also about humankind, politics, and especially works. That's the word, the big one that a lot of people don't want to talk about in the night because work isn't fun and night's supposed to be fun or something else than not fun, but work, that's the word which creates emptiness in the conversation with my one night stand, and that's how we often turn the talk into a body talk. Again, Mum wasn't a hippie, but she taught me how to share. I'm kind of jealous when I heard some friend of mine telling me that their parents were doing things with ash, with sex, and with pavement of Paris. I so like Paris floors. That's one of my favorite things here, but in fact, it's my favorite things everywhere, the floors. I can spend a lot of time looking at floors. More than people, maybe, because they are kind of similar for me. They are not the same, but they are similar because when I look people, I don't look at them. I'm kind of sliding on them and falling on them. I will say, looking at people is like making waves. It's like breaking mirrors. Looking at people is creating skin disease. Another voice said that looking at people is not remembering themselves. You see, I heard a lot of voices when I write, and that's exactly the same that I was saying before. Before, words are people, or people are words, and that's why I don't want to tell names and to make lists, because I think that writing doesn't come from what you can call people, or or books. Writing comes from limbo. You see, limbo is like in art, sausages, you hit it without thinking what's inside, right? And if you really think about it, there is no point to say who, say what, because no one is no one, because people are like floors, abstract paintings. People are landscape, and it's a bad idea in itself to make money with landscape, as much as it is stupid to make money with names. I don't know if you get me here, but if you like art, you will maybe begin to understand how art can become shit, Mr. Backlash. To come back to the hippie thing, I said that I was kind of jealous of my friends who have dead hippies as parents. In fact, my mom was too young to be a hippie in the 60s, 70s, because she was born, I can't remember exactly when, but less or more around 1960, and she pushed me outside of herself when she was more or less 22 or 21. I was not only bad with geography at school, but also with history, which is kind of similar. So now we understand why names and dates are not such important for me, because they are all the time more than what they are. But anyway, do you know that guy, Gigi Rousseau, who made his own autobiography? Do you know that guy before Gigi Rousseau, who made his own autobiography? He was a castrated guy. I don't know if you already heard that story, but for me it seemed important in the history of writing, and I will let you think on that. Castration and autobiography. The fact that I never had hippies' parents is problematic, and I will tell you why. I feel like I'm swimming in a bath of thought, like a juice of ideas and practices derived from the 60s and 70s, but I can't see what the culture of my generation keep from that, except the drug scene maybe, and concerning myself, sex, free sex with unknown people, as I say, with floor. We often talk about love and sex with my friends, but I often talk especially with one. The one who can't drink a glass of wine without tilt his head back because his nose is too big to come inside the glass. He's my best friend and I call him Pepe. Even if it's not his real name, it fits so well with him. Pepe. Pepe's a big nose. The funniest thing to think about his nose is that he doesn't really use it to breathe or to smell. I can hear him always breathing by the mouth. But he mostly uses his nose to sniff big lines of cocaine because he really likes it. Some of the friends who gravitate around Pepe said that he's a kind of social addict guy and that his addiction has no more thing to do with cocaine than with social. Like a king, he got his court. He likes to be visible and surrounded. And on one point we are kind of the same because as social as he is, he do a lot of one-night stand and both of us are preoccupied with the meaning of that. Because we think of it as a practice or as a kind of free work maybe. On those last days, we got a conversation with Pepe about Tahiti's civilities. I know it's not the same because Tahiti seems to be free now, and we are not like those women who are at least with the urging of men giving their sex as a present to French visitors. So it's not the same what we do with Pepe nowadays, but we think of it. But we think about this idea of sex as a gift, and especially because we do it a lot with strangers. Or I would like to say with unknown, because strangers and unknown are the same, don't you think? I feel that something is sneaky today with unknown, anonymous and stranger. And I think it's not so new, but it's not so old also. People want names, or people want faces, I don't know, but if it's possible, no mask, no hood, and no hoodband. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about now, but I'm sure you feel that there is something we live with without really wanting, but it's kind of okay because hey, it's like that and we will not trade the life same as our dead hippies parents did, right? We do things, work, war, love, children and revolution differently, don't you think? Remember the time before rolled heads, like the time of the Sun King, when some people wanted to be all the time visible. And this king himself, one of the first to change the way of using power on his people, saying, even when I pee, even when I poo, you're gonna look at me. I heard a story telling that Sun King used to keep waiting his people standing in front of a big wall's mirror. And on this wall mirror there was a very small door that the king opened himself from behind to appear to his people in coming out of the mirror. And that's how the Sun King comes. He makes himself coming out. So you see, history of glass, coming out, mirrors, apparency and transparency is not so new but not so old thinking. I forgot the name linked to the first personal pronoun. I come from we. Come from New York, New York, come from the 19th century, come from machine, come from freedom, come from rolled heads, come from ideas of liberty, equality, mobility, come from I am, therefore I move. The question is, how do you know that I'm living if I don't move against something? And how do you know that I'm living if I don't crush against something? Mr. Backlash, who do you think I am? Grandma was wrong when she said lost, wrecked, poor, blind birds young people are. I think we really know what we are doing because we clearly push the intensity of light, and that may be the matter. Identity, what can I say? Too much light is bleeding, it's confusing. An identity, a community, it's confusing. The meaning of things in itself is confusing. One eye, one spy, it's confusing. Philanthropy, economy, it's confusing. I confess, I'm myself confusing. An archive, a nightmare, an airport, it's the same. airport nightmares, empires nightmares, an airport, an archive, a nightmares, and night mirrors everywhere, by day or by night, mirrors and mirrors and mirrors dancing like owls, like walls, like owls in the infinite space. I live in the Golden Drop district, where I walk often to observe people in the street, and where I like to play that game, like the one cowboys plays with their eyes in cowboys movies. Another friend of mine said that looking at is belonging to. And I think I understand what he meant, because otherwise people will have no matter to look at each other for a long, long, long time. The Golden Drop is the name of my neighborhood because before there was field of golden grapes here to make white wine named Golden Drop. And this wine was kind of yellow syrupy type, which looked like liquid gold. For now, there are no more fields, but very small craggy street full of street peddlers who sell glittering things like real or fake gold. It's up to you to tell the difference between. And they sell it on tables they made with cardboard found in the streets. Those tables are really useful and kind of perfect design regarding their needs, which is to close the table very fast and to run if they see the cat. Because there are a lot of big blue cats with big blue coats in my neighborhood. And a friend of mine told me it's like a game, it's not cruel. When they see the cat, they run as fast as they can with their cardboard table and their golden chain and their golden vein, and it's make like days shooting stars in the streets. So you see, in my neighborhood, streets look like people, and people look like spending time or trade the fire. Depends on who do you think they are. Mr. Backlash, Mr. Monster, Mr. Black Cash. Mother used to say that a person which asks for your paper can't love you, but can help you if you ask for direction when you walk in the streets, always caught and guided and guided away and guided away when some other crawl along the pavement in the kingdom of limbo and ask for money or just for a look or a smile to warm the hurt. Please, just a look, the world turned too fast. Can't you see the people in me? For God's sake, for Jesus' blood, don't fail me yet. Never fail me yet. Never fail me yet. There is one thing I know, Jesus' blood. Never fail me yet. Never fail me yet. There's one thing I know, that He loved me so. If leprosy went back, will you give me some more cash? Since I am, therefore I move, for the time we decide to open bags like windows. I don't look people the same way as wood, as doors, as floors and broken mirrors. Cause versus consequences, and actions wants reaction. Outside of likeness comes strangeness, a community, an identity. It's confusing. Who do you think I am? You think one foot in front of another is not a fashionable style, but where there were steps before now, I slide, I glide, I drift my mind. Child of the 80s, I'm not so old, but I'm not so new. How long is now? How old are you? Are you sure the time belonged to you? How much are you? You see, things appears into orders of degree and pedigree, women and children first, outsider in the streets, insiders in the White House, and I can stop when I'm thinking of it to touch my mouth.